And there he is. A very warm welcome to Charlton TV, Andy Hunt. Hunty, how are you? Can you hear me?
Good morning. How you doing, guys?
Very good indeed. Look, got to start with you living over in Belize. How on earth did that come about? You can hear Brownie and Curbs, can't you?
Struggling, Hunty. Struggling a bit there, are you?
I can hear you. You hear me all right?
Yeah. We can hear you loud and clear. How did you get to be over there? Looks amazing.
This is my backyard. I'm actually turning it into a studio. So I was thinking maybe you could come out here and do the show, right?
Oh, mate, sorted. Deal. I'm sure Charlton TV will pay for the expenses.
It's February in London. Like, why would you not want to be out here, you know, in the tropics? We got internet.
You're preaching to the converted, Hunty. Listen, let's go down memory lane. I hope you're ready for it as well. We've got some great memories, and obviously Curbs and Brownie alongside me as well. They'll be chipping in. We always like to ask our former players first up, just how on earth did Curbs convince you to come to Charlton? What did he say? And, you know, how did you get to be a Charlton player?
Oh, it wasn't hard at all. I always admired the way Charlton did things and how Curbs, you know, ran the club with the other people involved. And, you know, I played against Charlton many times for West Brom. They always gave us a really tough battle. And, you know, I think I was one of the first Bosman rulings. My contract was running out at West Brom. I'd had 5 years there and you know, a different manager every year. And, you know, when Charlton beat Sunderland in the playoff final, I was watching it with my wife, and I said, God, that'd be great if Charlton came in for me. My contract was running out, and I don't know if you went through that yourself, where your contract's running out and you're playing and you're a bit worried about injuries and stuff like this. But yeah, I said, that'd be great. And then lo and behold, I got a phone call. I think it was you that called me, Curbs, wasn't it?
Yeah, straight away. As soon as we got out of the hotel.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I fell off my chair. I was like, no, seriously? And yeah, so, I mean, you know, you try to act cool, don't you, when somebody approaches you? but no, I mean, I didn't have to think twice about that. As soon as Curbs called me, it was already a done deal, you know?
Yeah, well, don't fall off your sunbed there, will you? I mean, Brownie, what were your first impressions of Hunty as a teammate?
Yeah, I mean, when he came in the building, obviously, he probably didn't know me so well because I was at the back of the group, you know, running last and not getting in the team. But he was a fantastic addition to what we already had. The thing that Hunty provided was all the hard work in the channels Hunty would do, hold the ball up, very strong on his left side. So now you've got two strikers, one predominantly right, one predominantly left. Very good in the areas. You've just seen from the clips, always taking up great positions in the penalty area. And I felt that was my time at the club, that was the best strike force we ever had. Those two up front were just superb.
You go along with that, Curbs?
Well, yeah, I think that, you know, we had Clive, obviously, who would come to feet and players could play it into him and know that it'd stick and they could run off him. And we had Hunty that would, as Brownie said, would be different. You know, we could hit a diagonal ball up to him and we know he'd challenge it and it may pop down to us. We could go over the top. But if we got in crossing positions, and obviously we had Noots, we had Robbo, if we had a crossing position, they knew it was coming in. And Hunty revelled in that, the fact that anything that come into the 6-yard box, not many people was going to beat Hunty in the air.
Yeah. Hunty, when you first signed, obviously Clive was here. He was Charlton's main man because of his goal-scoring record and what happened the previous season. Did that bother you in any way that he was the headline grabber?
Not at all. I went through the same process at West Brom with Bob Taylor. I went there and he scored 40-odd goals in that season, and I went there when they got in the playoffs. So I think you have to have as a striker for sure, you have to have a sort of stubborn, thick skin that, you know what you're doing, you know, and you won't survive if you have doubts about who you are and what you're going to do. I mean, moving clubs is a challenge for sure, and Clive obviously is a legend, just unbelievable goal scorer. But you just go and you just give it your best and see what happens. And so no, I never felt intimidated or under pressure. I never felt the pressure from Curbs or the management, and the players were great. You know, Charlton had a really amazing team spirit at that point. I guess it was just I'd say years, probably decades, right, of just developing and building the club. So the quality of the players was great. The team spirit was great. So you just come in and really enjoy it. And it's interesting that Curbs is talking about the wingers. I have to say it was just because I talk about this these days with my young guys. It's like playing with Sean and Robbo was just a pleasure. I mean, I think over the years they'd really refined the wingers role, and they could just drop it on a sixpence for me, which I liked, which I enjoyed, and I think I'd reached a stage in my career where I could move around pretty good, get into areas where it was difficult for defenders. And just get on the end of things. And we worked on it a lot in training. I mean, we really did. I mean, we worked a lot on the wingers supplying quality balls into us. And it was a delight to play in that squad.
You mentioned the two wide players, but I've got to ask you what it was like playing alongside Clive as well. What made it so good, you two, in that relationship?
Well, actually, Clive had quite a few injuries. And then I think we had a few other guys, like Martin Pringle came in, and Svensson and a few others. So people ask me about who my favourite strikers were to play with and stuff like that. And I just enjoyed the whole thing. I mean, I like playing with all the different styles, like Curb said, Clive was really good at keeping the ball. He had just this knack of being able to squirm out of situations and in the penalty box for sure. So you just try to dovetail nicely with whoever you're playing with, and I did that with Clive. But I'm not sure if you check the records, but I don't know how many games I actually played with Clive. I know we had a bit of a tough season the first season going into the Premier League. That was a real eye opener, dealing with some of them guys in the Premier League. But Clive was, I mean, he's a legend, isn't he? And I mean, he's the way he could finish in the box was unique for sure. The way he could turn, and learned a lot off him in training. As you always do, you keep learning and moving on, and so I hope he's doing well.
Look, you touched on the first season there that ended in relegation, so let's go to the next season then, shall we? Which is what you're best known for. Just how enjoyable was that season?
It was great after the first few games. Brownie, I don't know if you remember, it felt to me like it felt like there was more pressure at the start of that season than there was in the Premier League. I don't know if we were all just enjoying the Premier League too much. Just loving being there, going out at Old Trafford and Anfield and these places. But the first few games, I think we struggled a little bit, and Curbs dropped me. I think that was at Fulham. You never like to get the little... just go up and see the gaffer.
The curly finger, we're hearing. The curly finger, Friday finger.
You never remember the good stuff just when you were left out. He's right, though. I think he's right. We struggled. I think the expectation levels is the thing here. We weren't expected to stay up because you didn't spend a great deal of money when we went up, and yet when we came down, we were considered a very strong squad. It's interesting what Hunty's saying about Clive there, because all I remember is they scored about 60 goals between them, which would suggest they did play, certainly in that championship year. It was my favourite year, Hunty. I don't know about yourself, but that championship year when we finally got ourselves to the top of the table, it all just come together.
Curbs, I'll just ask you here, we spoke on Tuesday about needing a Curbishley run. We've spoken today about needing a Curbishley run. But how vital was Hunty to that 12-match winning run?
Oh, I mean, some of the goals you see just in the memory lane there, I mean, fantastic finishes. Dropping his shoulder, getting it onto his left. I didn't see too many going with his right foot, but that's what he wasn't bought for. But he was right. Clive had his injuries. We bought different players in Svensson, Pringle. Even they took injuries, but we knew we could always rely on Hunty. And that pre-season wasn't the best. We had the notorious Fat Five in the
wasn't in it
in the centre circle, Colchester away, friendly. And then we got done up. We didn't play very well at Fulham. I remember keeping players out on the pitch. I don't know if you remember that, but I kept them on the pitch. The fans were still there, behind the goal, because all the fans are behind the goal at Fulham, aren't they? And I just felt, I didn't do it. What's his name? Phil Brown when he was going like that. But I made sure that the fans knew that we weren't happy. Instead of just crawling in. And the Fulham dressing rooms are too small to have a row anyway, aren't they? So I kept the players out so the fans could see it. And I think, they understood that we weren't quite at it. But once we got going, then there was no stopping us.
Hunty, if I was to say to you, Stockport, would that bring a smile to your face?
Yeah, I'm banned from that city.
Hat-tricks in both league games that season.
Yeah, ridiculous. I don't know what it was. I mean, there's just some teams that just fit your eye for some reason. I don't know why. I have no idea, but I think the second hat-trick I got back-to-back, didn't I, with Norwich as well. That goal there, funny enough, that's one of my favourites because I was never known for my dribbling. I was a little bit long and gangly, so just that one really pleased me a lot because just feinting and dropping my shoulder and sending the defender the wrong way and a nice finish. So simple goal like that, but it pleased me a lot. You get something like Mo Salah, he does that all the time, right? But it was very pleasing to score that. But Stockport, it's strange though because the home game was when I first found out I had glandular fever. So I did a test and found out because I was struggling a little bit, and then I got the test, but I went to the game. I think we won 4-1 at home, and I scored a hat trick. So.
Well, look, we'll come on to that in just a sec, Hunty, because I want to still talk about that particular season and how you were feeling at that time. Did you feel like every time you were going to step out onto the pitch that you were going to score?
Yeah, definitely. After the first couple of games, like I said, I got dropped. Getting dropped is a huge motivator for sure. And I can't remember how I got back in the team. But, that's the management way to motivate some players, right? And I never really needed that. I always felt like I gave a good account of myself as best I could. I mean, you have good and bad days, of course, but I really loved that season. And like Brownie said, it was like he'd been there a long time. So he'd gone through the sort of the development of the squad and the club, and been a sort of stalwart there for many years. For me, coming in as a new player, the atmosphere was brilliant. We struggled in the Premier League, definitely. I think it was an eye-opener. We didn't really probably bring our level up enough. But we were all very seasoned Championship players. And we'd all had, we got good resumes in that league. So we were an extremely strong squad. And I think, going back to the Fulham thing, that was one of the only times I ever saw Curbs get pretty mad at us. So after that, I think the penny dropped, and we just went on a tear. I mean, we were unstoppable, and we had a great sort of consecutive winning run. Flew to the top of the league. I think we were there, I don't know, was it before Christmas? And that was it. Once we hit the top of the league, you couldn't catch us.
Yeah, it was an amazing run. I mean, obviously then went up. We're going to look now at your last goal for Charlton, which was against Coventry again. Your first goal against Coventry, your last goal. It was a 2-2 draw. Just tell us more about the illness and how that made you feel during the games, during the matches, and training as well.
Well, I think you can see in the little clip here at the end, you can see I look absolutely knackered. I mean, they had the board up to bring me off. I could be wrong. I think it was about an hour into the game. But you can see on my face there, I look shattered. So yeah, I got glandular fever. I played with it. Probably shouldn't have done. Probably should have rested. And then that was the year. That was the start of the. Bizarrely enough, I had my best season, but I think a lot of that comes down to just years of training and experience and reaching the peak of my career, I suppose, and playing in an outstanding team. So then after that, I just struggled I just never felt fresh, you know. I never felt like I'd recovered. So the club were brilliant. I got to rest a lot. Played the whole year, and like I said, you know, we were the champions. I was the top scorer in the league. Totally rested through the summer for the being back in the Premier League, and I came back great. I'd scored 4 goals in 8 games. I think we were almost top at that point. I mean, Man City at home was the opening game. I scored in that game. We beat them. Was it 5? I can't remember now. It was we played so well, but then it just came back like doubly hard. It just really it felt like I was carrying a sack of bricks around the whole game, and I just couldn't get fresh. I just couldn't get my recovery. So you know, I think that people talk a lot about COVID nowadays, and I think a lot of people got to be careful with that too, because these are viruses and they can linger. So you got to make sure you get rested enough. And you know, they talk about long COVID now. Very, very similar symptoms, I think. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So I certainly hope the players that do get diagnosed are well rested and make sure they get their recovery so that they can continue.
Curbs, just tell us how good, how important Hunty was for the club and how big a loss that was.
Yeah, I mean, when you saw one of the goals there, and I think Jensen was jumping on him and Johansson and JJ was there, we put together a really strong attacking side. But I remember we was doing what Andy's talking about their pre-season. And, you know, when players come back for pre-season, you know, you do the hard running for a week, and then the second week, you should be getting stronger. But Andy was getting weaker. And he was saying to me, he was going home after the training session in the afternoon and then falling asleep till the morning. Like going through, you know, the evening and etc. And as the players were getting stronger, he was going the other way. And obviously the illness took hold of him. And it was terrible. I mean, we've lost some players here because of injury over the years in my time. But he was the biggest loss. Because the way he was playing and the performances he was putting in, we probably wouldn't have been able to hold on to him the way he was playing. You know, someone was going to come in and take him, that's for sure. So for him to lose all that as well and to see him now is great, you know, because a lot of people would have took that the wrong way, having to retire because of that illness.
Very quickly, Brandy, because we...
Oh, he needs to leave his address for us, doesn't he? How expensive is it to fly out, Hunty?
I've done it enough times. I know the routes. I'd love to have you out here. Just bring the camera and definitely we'll set it up. Let's make the studio right here. Look, you can make your pina colada.
Oh, sounds good, Rodney. Yeah, be up for that. Listen, I've got to say, Hunty, I never played with you personally, but whenever Clive's name comes up, and obviously it does, Curbs always makes sure that you get to mention as well. So clearly you made a big impact, not just at the club, but with Curbs personally. Very quickly, final one. Any plans of coming back to the Valley at all?
Yeah. Hopefully, I should be. I've been, I wouldn't say stuck, but I've been not particularly keen to travel over the last couple of years because of the restrictions that keep changing all the time on travel. But it does look like things are starting to ease off, and I'm hoping to come soon because my family, you know, I want to visit my family there in Norfolk, and so definitely, I'm not sure when because still, you know, the boys are in, my oldest at university, my youngest at school, so we have to wait for all of that to unravel. But definitely, I hope to be back. I don't know. The season ends what, May, right? End of May, middle of May,
end of April.
Okay, so probably not before then, but maybe I'll have to time it for a August trip.
We'll get you in for the start of the next season, Hunty. Listen, I've seen some big gardens in my time. I've never seen a jungle as a garden. That's absolutely amazing. Been an absolute pleasure, and all the very best out there.
Thanks ever so much for inviting me on. It's been great catching up, and Curbs and Brownie, great to see you guys again.
Take care, Andy.
Well, mate. Look after yourself.